I'm waiting for the thing to tell me it's recording. There it is. Okay. Hi, guys. Trevor here to Technology Drop-In Thursday. Today is March 4th, and Webex has got some stuff. Does anyone, I don't know if anyone's been following or followed the Microsoft Ignite conference. It's been over the last 3 days. So if you go to myignite.microsoft.com, it's also in our group chat there. They had 3 days of conferences, and it wasn't just live events. They have a whole bunch of recorded stuff. So there's actually some really cool resources there that you can look at. And one of the things, I think I've got a link in today's show notes. One of the things in there is some of the changes coming up with Microsoft's Teams and stuff that are going to be happening over the next couple of weeks. So they announced a bunch of stuff. Now it's just a time waiting for everyone to roll it out. But there's lots of great resources in there, whether you're into SharePoint, into OneDrive, don't know what the difference is. Because SharePoint is actually a collection of services. It's not just the folder storage place that we have typically been using. So really recommend you take a look and see what else is there for you guys, because there's something for everybody at all levels. All right, so let us start with this. I'm going to share my whole screen here. And so we're going to talk about, the first thing I want to talk about is new changes to the Webex layout. I was in a training session yesterday, and for once I wasn't leading it, so it was kind of cool. And I always tell people in Webex, when you're starting your video, in the top right-hand corner is a little button called Layout. And when you start doing these shared videos or some screen sharing and stuff, you see that strip of people all at the front, and they're all really tiny. Well, there's actually different layouts that you can do, and they've renamed them recently, and I'm just going to show you. So where the link is, it's on usually it's in the top right-hand corner. It looks like something like this. And the new options we have here, well, stack and side by side, they've renamed them a little bit. But stack basically means, as you can see here, the main image is in the middle of the screen, and then you have a film strip of all the people at the top there. For me, what I like is this one called side by side. And what that does is give you this look. So imagine off to the left here is the actual shared screen. Whoever is speaking gets to be the big head, and then all the other participants show up here. Now, because it's in a strip down the side of your browser, you're not going to see all. It's usually the last 6 people or whatever. But you can keep clicking on these layouts, and you can actually get it where if I have 2 screens, I can have the one screen has the shared window, the other screen has all the video sources, and I can look at all the people at the same time, which is what I do when I'm training. They now have a new piece here. It's called automatically hide names when not speaking. So what happens is, in this session that I was in, there was actually 30 some odd people, but there was only the 5 of us had our video on. So instead of having just the blank name and stuff that you normally see, it actually gets rid of all those names, and you only see those people that have video running. You also have a setting to take out all the names. So maybe you don't care who these people are, but you can see their video. So you can, that's part of what that's in there as well. Actually hide all names, that's where that one comes from. So that'll hide all the names. This hides all the videos and stuff. So, well, hang on a second, I got it mixed up. Hide participants with video off, that's the one I wanted. And then hide the names when they're not speaking, or just hide all names. So some new settings for Webex. Make sure you take a look at that. It is handy. Webex also just announced, and I don't think it's in this version yet, but they're going to have live captioning, but it also is going to translate into other languages. So Microsoft and Google have been talking about that for a while too. Everyone's on this cusp. I've been telling you, like, over the next couple of months, everyone's coming out with all these new features, and language translation is one that Webex says is coming out in the next couple of weeks. I saw something in Microsoft Word. So as we've talked about in the past, Microsoft Word, the browser version, and all the other browser apps is usually where Microsoft is putting all their money and their effort in, because they want everyone to use this browser. That way they only have to update the one location, and it updates for the Macs, for the web users, and for the Windows users. And there's talk about new apps coming out, which are basically this web version with a new wrapper in it. So you'll find that, as I mentioned before, you'll find all sorts of stuff kind of pops up there. There's a new one here called reuse files. And what that does is says, hey, you know what? I know that there's a file that's got this same paragraph that I want. I'm going to just take that paragraph and bring it over. So I'm actually just put my cursor here. I'm going to go to reuse files. And I'm just going to search for one and see if it shows up here. I just created a little while ago, so it hadn't shown up yet. Oh, you liar. Okay, so imagine this. Imagine I have a document, which I do, called clippings. And in there is a bunch of documents that oh, there it is. So this is a reference. So let's say this is kind of like your standard response to questions. And I can share this with everyone in my group. Whenever we're responding or working with people, I can go into here. Come on, give it to me. Why won't you do that? It was working like seconds ago. Okay, let me try refreshing it. Refresh and see if that'll help. And if it doesn't, we'll just fake it. Technology. This is what happens when you go live. Reuse files. Well, okay. I'm gonna take this. So imagine this was that clippings document. So it's actually going to preview the window. This is the same document, but pretend it's a different document. But it's actually previews the window, and then I can go through and I can scroll through and say, you know what? I want to take this paragraph and add it to wherever my cursor is. So I just click on this, and bang, it just pops it over. So you can basically use this kind of like a template for everyone to make use of, or for you to make use of. So if there's standard, we talked about last week about having that clippings app or text expander app. It's similar to that, except for it's in a document. So I can pick and choose, use this as a resource, and then pull data over to my working document. This is also something that you could do at a department level or a program level, where here is the standard responses for a bunch of FAQ questions. And then as I'm writing stuff out, I can refer to that same document, and that way we're all saying the same thing. So it's just another way that if you have different chunks of text and stuff, you can create like a template document, and then that's where you store everything in. And when you need it, you can just pull it over here into your document there. Not available in the desktop apps yet, but like I said, this is the kind of stuff that they end up doing first in the browser, and eventually we'll bring that along. Google has something now that I'm excited about called keeping paragraphs together. And if you've done a lot of word processing where you create these styles and stuff like that, Word has some beautiful strength in the styles. Google's catching up in that section. But what it allows me to do is ensure that, well, let's take a look here. So here I've got this piece of text here and this stuff down here. If I highlight this, because I don't like it split, I would rather there's a space there. But I can go into my paragraph spacing and I can say, keep lines together. So it says keep all the lines of a paragraph together. And what it does is exactly that. Now I would apply that to my template, like my whole document, because I want to keep all the paragraphs together usually, unless it's like a major run-on paragraph. But this allows to keep it all the stuff together. What's also nice is, sometimes if I was to, see me if I can do this here, hang on. I got to find a spot for it. Well, I'll just make one here. But let's say I have a heading here. I'll make this a heading, heading 1. Now, if I happen to go away, if I happen to have a bunch of carriage returns or text, whatever it is, watch what happens here. The paragraph disappears, and now I'm left with a heading here by itself. Well, that's a great case where I can say, you know what, keep this thing here with the next paragraph or the next line. So when you apply that, it's going to work all the way throughout your document. You can do that as well in Microsoft Word. So it's not available in the, hang on, it's not available on the web version, but you can go into the desktop app and get it set up. It's the same thing. If you just go under Format to Paragraph, and you have those exact same things. So before, we've done this before, we have your indents and we have the spacing before and after. But if you go to line and page breaks, you can say, keep this with the next paragraph, or keep these lines together within a paragraph, page break, whatever. But you can also apply that to the actual style. So those of you that aren't familiar with using styles and stuff, my essential whatever, must have skills for Microsoft Word. We talk about that, but you can apply that so that for every heading automatically is going to stay with the next line, because we want those paragraph headings and the first paragraph to be together. I can also take the normal style and say, I always want these paragraphs to stay together. So it gives you a lot more control in ensuring that all your data stays together where you want to have it. So you don't have those single lines at the top of a page and stuff like that. I'm just going to check, see if there are any questions. Let's see something. Hang on, comment here. Was that like the widow and orphan features Word used to have? Yeah, that's exactly it. That's it. They've just renamed them something a little more. Okay, cool. So yeah, so Google has that now, which is I find quite exciting. This is for something for you guys who have personal Gmail accounts. Google is moving to get rid of Hangouts. Okay, so right now they've replaced the video part of Hangouts to call Hangout Meets. They've replaced the phone calls, because you used to be able to do audio calls through Hangouts. You can do that now in Hangout Meet. The last step is the chat. So right now, we don't use a lot of Hangouts chat, but I mean, you could easily do that. But if you take a look on your personal side of things, I'm just going to pull up Hangouts here really quick. But this is the old style Hangout chat that we would do. And I mean, it's just like any other chat stuff. But notice here it said, well, call-in's actually turned off already. But here's all my different conversations. Well, there's a new tool called Google Chat, which is different than Hangout Chat, which is just confusing, but that's what they do. And when I pull up chat.google.com, I get this piece here. Eventually, what's going to happen is this part here is going to replace the Hangouts chat. Now, the challenge, though, is to see all these different conversations I've had over the years with people. Those aren't all going to just suddenly appear in my chat list. It's just going to take a look at whatever recent conversations you've had. So with Barney here, Barney have had this little conversation, but probably Barney and I have had a much longer conversation in here if I could find him. Well, maybe not. How about Jazz? Let's see what Jazz has got. So Jazz and I have been chatting for years on this kind of stuff here, but not all of that's going to get pulled over. And all those empty conversations that I haven't touched for a little while, all that data will not get pulled over. So I think August is when they were talking about doing that. You'll start to find now that if you pull up chat.google.com, it will on your personal account or here at McEwen, you can see it. Chat.google.com is Google's version of Microsoft Teams. So you've got the personal chats here. Then I can create rooms. So just like our group conversations, and people can come in and go out. You still have to go and set your sharing for your files and stuff separately from that, which is different than what SharePoint does. But and I don't know a lot of people that are using Google Chat. Microsoft Teams works really well, so I mean, there's no really reason for us. But students might be interested, or as an instructor, you might decide to create a room called, Chemistry 101, and you can add students or they can add themselves into that group. And just like Microsoft Teams chat, we now have a Google room for putting stuff in there. Fun. Notifications and calendar view in Microsoft Lists. Oh, Lists is cool. So we've talked about Microsoft Lists in the past, and the way I kind of look at it is it's a simpler version of spreadsheets, but it's also a simple version of a database. So here's basically what I've got is some lines here and stuff. Down the road, we can take advantage of these lists to use something called Power Apps. And Power Apps is a component of Microsoft that allows you to create your own application, whether it's for a mobile device or whatever, and then pull and draw from the data from out of there. So it's not using just like, here's all the lines that you see on your sheet now on a mobile device. It actually allows you to do more with it than just that. And there are some sessions coming up, and we'll talk about that. Don't let me forget about that, those Microsoft sessions. Anyways, so one of the nice advantages of this is it looks like a regular spreadsheet. And if you look under here, there is a way that you can create alerts for yourself. We've talked about this in the past, but I can basically set it to allow users, if by email or by text message, if new items or all existing items are changed or what have you. That's very broad on the changes, but you can now take a look and under Power Apps, and you've got something here called, Automate. You've got rules. So filters and stuff. So I'm going to create a rule. And here's the different choices. And I like the fact that it just says, you know, is there a change in the value? Is there something else going on? But I can go and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to look at this. What column? So I'm going to look at my dates. So let's say that someone's changing the date here. So if if it's after a certain date or whatever, or is not today, so or a specific date, then send an email to somebody. So it doesn't have to be me. I can have it go to Nick. Oh, don't do this to me. It will do this. Nick. Well, it did Nick yesterday, so I don't know why it's not working. But I can usually anyone that's got access to the files and stuff, they can also get access to that. So I can specify a number of different people. And the nice thing about that is when you've got this stuff, you can change who gets notified if there's a change. So for example, in tech support, we have a laptop loaner system, and we have to keep track of the laptops that are coming and going. And anytime that the access changes from loaned out or returned, we can set up an automation to email people to let everyone know that, hey, this laptop is now no longer around, that kind of thing. The other nice thing too is, and I think we talked a bit about it, but you've got different views that you can create here for your data. So I actually created a new one here just called calendar. And all it does is it takes a look at the dates that are in that list of stuff and puts them on a calendar. So now I can see that this is when this item was supposed to be due. This is when this item is supposed to be due. I can double click on it to look at it. I can even edit it and make changes. So when we're looking at due dates for things to be returned, like these laptops and stuff, it's easy to see which dates are going to be returned so that we can say, yeah, you'll be able to book it on Friday because we're expecting it back on Thursday. So this has a lot of cool functionality coming down the pipe, and recommend you explore that. There's a link to a video there of a whole whack of changes coming that I recommend. I put it in the spreadsheet, or sorry, I put it in the chat as well. Last thing is this checklist template. Anyone that knows me knows how much I really, really like checkboxes and formatting and stuff like that. So this document, I didn't create it, someone else did, but what I like about it is if I click on here, it'll automatically go and highlight the color of this row, which I do all the time. But they also put a cross out, so that's the text line through the text. So they added that function in it as well as the highlighting the row, which I thought, oh, that makes sense. It should be cross out. But what this thing does is it actually gives you a progress bar. And so as I start checking things off, I can quickly at a glance, if that's something that works for you, tell that I'm at 50% of this job done, or I'm at 60% of the job done. And to figure out how it works, if you look at the code here, under view, you can say show formulas. It'll show you all the formulas in the cells in that. But here's what happens. So it starts off with this is the percentage. So it basically says count everything from A6 through end of A, and then take that number and divide it by the count of how many lines have text. So that's a percentage, no big deal. So how many of these are true divided by the full number of lines you got going. This other part here is called the spark line, and the spark line does the bar chart here. It can also do other little graphs and stuff like that. I've used it in the past as well to do little charts. But this is kind of cool because what they've done is they've said, okay, for this spark line, count how many of these are checked off. And again, we know the division here. But as you're doing that, throw in a chart type of a bar and then count how many of these are checked off and then make the red in there. So that's why when I check things off, as I turn this back to here, go away. As I check things off, that's what makes this thing go back and forth, is that spark line. So there is in the notes here, there's a template and an explanation how to do that. If nothing else, it's just kind of nice to look at the formatting, how they did the conditional formatting for this with the cross out as well as the highlighting the text. And again, if you make a copy of this document, which is in that article, it'll show you the conditional formatting. You can just go in real quickly and just take a look and see what they've got. Here you can see if this is equal to true, then make sure that the formatting here is red background with a line through it and all that kind of stuff. So you get to see that. Woo, that was a lot. Oh, any questions on any of that? Nope, okay. Last thing I want to point out is as I mentioned before, we've got some courses coming up from Microsoft. So we've talked to some Microsoft experts. They're going to come and they're going to do some sessions up over the next 2 months. It's going to be Mondays from 9 to 10 o'clock. And basically what it is we're focusing on lists. So if you want to learn about Microsoft lists, there we go. I'm just trying to find the document so I can throw it in here. Where is it? Sign up. There it is. No, that's not it.
Trevor,
yeah.
can I ask a question while you're looking for it?
Sure.
I noticed that one of them, I sent an email about it, but I don't know if I sent it to the right place. I noticed one of them is on Easter Monday. April 5th, I think.
April 5th?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll reach out and get them to change that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I didn't catch it. None of my other colleagues caught it, so we'll have to look at that.
I'm interested, but not interested enough to spend my Easter Monday doing it.
Well, then your priorities are out of whack. What can we say? Okay, yeah, I will take a look at that. So anyways, I'm going to just sort of pull this up. Actually, let's pull it over to the window here. It's in our chat. Trevor, silly guy. Come on, get back here. Get back here. The other get back here. Come on, there we are. So it's in the chat here. I am going to put it over into the Tech Savvy calendar, but we have Microsoft Lists Fundamentals. So that's on March 15th and April 12th. We have Power Automate Fundamentals. So this is what I recommend. If you want to save time, this is the course that you want to take, the 12th and April 19th. BI Fundamentals basically is how to create dashboards for data. So whether you're using Excel, I know there are some people that have access to PeopleSoft, so they're actually getting reports out of PeopleSoft that are just straight text reports, and they're able to use Power BI to give a nice dashboard and stuff. I don't know whether we would have access to that at that level, but I mean, it's something down the road we could definitely ask for. But something nice is to create even, here's an Excel sheet, and if you were doing like, you know, a project in here, something more fancier than that bar there, but it also allows us to create all sorts of different ways of responding and stuff. The fundamentals is a good course for that. And then Power Apps is a way to create an application that ties into the database. I don't have any good examples to send you guys right now, but you know, if you're into the geek, then this is something that you want to really take a look at, because it's going to have all sorts of different applications to Excel as well as other database sources that we're going to be able to get access to. So take a look through the chat and you can see about all that information there. Any questions? God, that was a long one. That was 30 minutes. Okay, I'm just going to stop the recording then.